Mamdani checks all the boxes. I'm Michael Smerconish today in New York City. It's been 18 days since Zohran Mamdani shocked the political world by taking the Democratic nomination for mayor of New York City. And almost every day since, there have been new revelations about the 33-year-old Democratic socialist, some more significant than others. I would place at the top of the list his refusal to condemn the phrase, globalize the intifada. While he claims it to be a call for Palestinian human rights and says it's not the language he himself uses, many see these words as an incitement of violence against the Jewish people and their institutions. When Mamdani said the U.S. Holocaust Museum referred to the Jewish resistance against the Nazis with a similar term, the museum said he was exploiting their history to sanitize the phrase. Also problematic, his desire to, quote, shift the tax burden to richer and whiter neighborhoods. And from an old clip recently resurfaced, another one of his goals, seizing the means of production, classic Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. In the category of insignificant, or at least not disqualifying, in my opinion, I would put the political views that he expressed in his college newspaper. Giving the finger to the Christopher Columbus statue, forays into international diplomacy, such as his wish to arrest Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, opposition to the existence of billionaires while being himself a child of privilege, posting from a tasteless parody called Punjabi Christmas album hits, and one horrendous rap video. But then there's the more complicated matter of his college application to Columbia University. Some found this disclosure damning. To me, it speaks to a much larger issue. Relying on hacked materials, the New York Times revealed that when asked to identify his race, Mamdani checked the box that he was Asian and also checked the box that he was Black or African American. He then wrote in Ugandan. Mamdani was born in Kampala, Uganda, the son of an Indian-Ugandan father and an Indian-American mother. They raised him in Uganda, South Africa, and New York City. Mamdani told the Times that he did not consider himself to be Black or African American, but rather an American, who was born in Africa. He said that he was trying to represent his complex background amongst the limited choices he was presented. And in that regard, he's not alone. Immigration and intermarriage have made it increasingly difficult for many to categorize race and ethnicity as distinguished from nationality. It's all part of being in the midst of a, quote, diversity explosion. I borrow that phrase from demographer William Fry. Fry wrote a piece last year for the Brookings Institute analyzing the 2020 census data. It turns out the 2010s were the first decade in U.S. history when the white population declined, and the second consecutive decade when it declined for the under-18 crowd. When I interviewed Fry on my SiriusXM radio program, he told me that with continued intermarrying, it's become harder for kids to identify with a particular race. He expected this would mean diminished attention paid to race, which would become less important politically and socially. In any case, looking at present trends, it's a foregone conclusion that by mid-century, if not sooner, no ethnic group will comprise a majority of the United States, a designation currently held by non-Hispanic whites. Indeed, that's already the case for those who are under 18 nationally and the population of at least 7 states: Hawaii, California, New Mexico, Texas, Nevada, Maryland, and Georgia. In the year 2000, there were only 3 such states. Further backing this up, according to Pew Research, nearly 1 in 5 newlyweds in their 30s in the U.S. had a spouse of a different race or ethnicity in 2015. That number was only 8% in 1980. Separately, Pew found that 1 in 7 infants in the U.S. was multiracial or multi-ethnic in 2015. That's nearly triple the share from 1980. And presumably the number is even larger today. All this is leading to widespread confusion when it comes to filling out forms. As the New York Times, responding to Mamdani's situation, put it earlier this week, for many Americans, checking a box won't do. The story goes on to note what Mamdani went through, quote, reflects experiences and decisions that have exasperated people across the country. Moreover, while some complain that institutions ask the wrong questions, they also note that forms can demand too much information. Nothing brings all this home like a trip to the doctor's office. Medical intake forms often today have seemingly endless racial and ethnic choices. Here's a typical one. It's from Mount Sinai. There are 123 choices for ethnicity. That's not a form, that's a Cheesecake Factory menu. And then there's the census. First, they ask if you're of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin. If the answer is yes, that's just the start. Does that mean Mexican, Mexican-American, or Chicano, or Puerto Rican, or Cuban, or another group such as Salvadoran, Dominican, Colombian, or numerous others, most of which are included under etc.? After that, you're broken up into white, which could be German, Irish, Italian, Egyptian, etc. That's some etc., right? Or black or African American, which could be Jamaican, Haitian, Nigerian, Somali, and another continent spanning etc. Or American Indian or Alaska Native, wherein you're then asked, to which tribe do you belong? And the next category includes Asians. That would be Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, along with Pacific Islanders, Native Hawaiians, Samoans, and so on. At a certain point, it starts to feel like a Abbott and Costello routine. We're broken up into so many races, ethnicities, and subcategories, you might start to wonder, well, what's the point? And with so many multi-ethnic babies, it's possible the majority might soon throw up their hands and simply check some other race, which is sort of what happened with Mamdani when he applied to college. It's easy to mock his decision to check boxes claiming that he was both Asian and black. Was he trying to game the system? Certainly others have. But in his case, he was Indian by ethnicity, Ugandan by birth, American by nationality. How was he supposed to express that? The real issue is not Mamdani's identity. I say it's the form itself, an antiquated framework that assumes race and ethnicity are cleanly divisible, easily checked, self-evident categories, when in reality they are often murky, overlapping, and deeply personal. For many Americans today, selecting a race or ethnicity on a bureaucratic form feels like self-identification, less like self-identification, and more like forced misrepresentation. We've entered an era in which these categories are less descriptive and more distorting. They may once have served a purpose, namely to monitor disparities, to promote affirmative action, but now they risk becoming arbitrary and reductive. When someone like Mamdani is asked to pick just one or two labels from a fixed menu, it says more about our outdated system than it reflects about him. We are measuring the country of today with the yardstick of yesterday. The labels were designed for a binary or at least a tripartite racial world. That would be black, white, sometimes Asian, in an America that no longer exists. We're now a nation of multiple origins, mixed ancestries, and fluid identities. We should embrace it. It certainly shouldn't scare us. After all, the U.S. motto, going back to our founding, is e pluribus unum, out of many, one. But maybe it's time to admit clinging to check boxes that can't capture that complexity may do more to confuse than to clarify. And by the way, none of this means I'm any less proud of my Carpatho-Rusin, Montenegrin, Calabrese roots.